The recontextualisation of youth wellbeing in Australia. The purpose of this poster presentation is to demonstrate how contemporary wellbeing messages articulated in national policy and state curricular health education approaches are recontextualised into school curricula from an analysis of policy and contemporary state-based curricular approaches to health education. Broadly, the purpose of the study was to explore how wellbeing discourses and policy documents were recontextualised through progressive fields of translation and through pedagogic decision-making into local forms of school-based curriculum. At a more specific level, the study investigated how national and international youth wellbeing and health education discourses are contextualised in school contexts, and how community-driven pressures and political response to community crises shaped pedagogic approaches, wellbeing messages, and then the classroom implementation of key health education recommendations. The paper focuses on presenting an adaptation of Bernstein's 1990 model of social reproduction of pedagogic discourse, and through this lens, the presentation offers insight into youth wellbeing discourses, health and wellbeing approaches, and student mental health concerns. The research was undertaken by Dr. Sue Whatman, Dr. Roberta Thompson, and Dr. Catherine Main, all who work at Griffith University, Queensland, Australia. The state of young people's wellbeing worldwide has declined substantially in recent years, and there are heightened concerns around mental health in particular. The OECD reports that half of all mental illnesses begin by the age of 14, with anxiety and personality disorders beginning at the age of 11. Mental disorders now account for one of the largest and fastest growing categories of youth health problems worldwide. Mental health problems have devastating effects on individuals, families, and communities, and these problems are associated with short-term difficulties at school and are obstacles to lifelong achievement. This research was completed before the COVID-19 global pandemic. However, it is clear that the pandemic has had a significant negative effect on young people's well-being. For example, Common Sense Media reported that the pandemic had substantially increased depression and anxiety in young people, and they reported nearly 40% of young people were experiencing moderate to severe symptoms of depression, and depression rates for LGBTQ plus youth are at near crisis levels, with up to 65% reporting symptoms. The mental health journey of young people is critical, and understanding how discourse from various wellbeing policy documents are recontextualised into local forms of curriculum is essential work that can help inform educators, policymakers, and community services relocate official and pedagogic fields into curriculum approaches that help young people thrive. Bernstein's proposed this model to illustrate how pedagogic discourse is recontextualised from one location into another. The primary field in health and physical education may draw from the disciplines of health, biomechanics, kinesiology, medicine, psychology, and education, and represents global flows of disciplinary knowledge production. A recontextualising field split into two subfields exists between the primary field of knowledge production and secondary field of knowledge reproduction, for example, schools. These are called the official recontextualising fields and the pedagogic recontextualising field. The official recontextualising field includes the specialised departments and sub-agencies of the state and local educational authorities. The pedagogic recontextualising field is comprised of university departments of education, together with their research, and the specialised media of education, such as journals and publishing houses, together with their readers and advisors. The pedagogic recontextualising field may also extend to those who are not specialised in educational discourse and its practices, but are able to exert influence both on the state and its various arrangements, sites, agents and practices within education. For example, powerful lobby groups. Singh noted that agents within the pedagogic recontextualising field have varying levels of control over their ability to recontextualise knowledge, regardless of whether they are independent of the state. For example, the private sector, such as outsourcing providers, or funded by the state, such as curriculum writers. The primary or community context is core to curriculum translation, as is the local context to which such decisions will be implemented. The community context not only accounts for location, demographics and resources, but also values the beliefs of the teachers and students, transmitters and acquirers engaged in learning and teaching, as well as parent, community, cultural and other local influences. The methods included a review of international, Australian, federal and state wellbeing policy documents to understand the reproduction, discourses and pedagogic codes across those documents and the way expert knowledge from the primary field was translated into official pedagogic discourse in other fields. For example, the Australian Student Wellbeing Framework depicts how student wellbeing and safety can be improved in schools through specific strategies such as support practices, leadership practices, and inclusive opportunities for students. These strategies depict communication flow between the macro and micro fields and provide evidence of how wellbeing discourses are produced, recontextualised, and reproduced in schooling. 2 case study examples of state-sanctioned child safety and bullying with wellbeing programs were examined. Case Study 1. The Titans Learning Centre was a customised curriculum program targeting Year 3 and 4 students who were 9 to 11 years of age, who were already showing signs of disengagement from schooling. Students attended 3 days per week for 10 weeks. The Titans Learning Centre program was unique in 2 ways. First, high-profile athletes who were players from the Titans National Rugby League Football Club and Queensland Education Department staff operated together as role models and community parties to transfer social and emotional wellbeing discourses and pedagogic codes to involve students. Second, an alternative state-approved curriculum was specifically designed to integrate social and emotional skills into key learning areas. In this way, the TLC program provided seamless integration of social and emotional skills into English, mathematics, arts, technology, health and physical education, as well as offered connections to students' everyday world by relating learning content to real-life scenarios. The curriculum design and pedagogic approaches drawn from it expertly developed awareness of and the ability to apply the social skills required to be a functioning member of a group. As shown in this diagram, the program exhibited characteristics of CASEL's internationally accepted definition of social and emotional programs, but most of the program, and therefore the pedagogic codes and content, was based on the recontextualisation influences residing at the lower end of Bernstein's theoretical model for the social reproduction of pedagogic discourse. Case Study 2. This case involved a cohort of 80 young adolescent girls aged 11 to 13. It was a unique school-intensive project and was created to improve young adolescent girls' well-being and their understanding of official online safety messages. Concerns about the girls' well-being had been raised by parents and teachers from the school. The project was designed to address various online issues identified by parents and teachers and to look at specific well-being needs of the girls in this age group. The girls worked in small groups to design online wellbeing interventions and self-help resources for other girls their age. The design project took place during weekly 35-minute wellbeing sessions that were facilitated by teachers from various cross-curriculum areas such as maths, health and physical education, English and so on. The girls worked together for 5 sessions planning and designing interventions. In the final week, each group shared their ideas with the researcher and discussed personal experiences that informed their design work. The case is important to this research because it is a clear example of how schools meet local needs through context-specific reproduction, recontextualisation and reproduction of wellbeing policies. Observation and interview contributions highlighted that recontextualisation tensions exist in the primary field. Teachers and girls did not agree on how things got done online with friends, and the girls pushed back with their own ideas. Official pedagogic discourses assume that all teachers are equally equipped to be well-being mentors. This is not the case. Some teachers were out of their depth and relied on protocols that are dated and not useful in online contexts. And the student voice is critical for understanding how official pedagogic discourses are reproduced by young people into strategies that work effectively for them in their everyday lives. For example, they said, "I don't use the schools reporting thing. I handle things my way. I don't want to be called a snitch." Findings. We found that understandings of well-being respond to various power relations and resultant pressures emanating from agents and stakeholders within and across official pedagogic fields and other contexts, such as local communities. Secondly, we found that top-down knowledge production from international disciplines shaping curriculum development and pedagogic approaches can be countered by bottom-up community context-driven political pressures and perceived community crises. In conclusion, we found primary school responsiveness to youth at risk discourses permeating child safety and bullying. And we also found that Bernstein's model provides broader utility for school-based approaches to student well-being.